Hey y'all, it's Brad Allen and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to tackle a big topic and you either love it or you hate it, but this thing I'm going to talk about today is going to help you close more listings and probably close them faster for closer to the actual asking price. So if that intrigued you, keep watching because what we're going to be talking about is pre-inspections. Now, you're gonna love it, you're gonna hate it, you're gonna fight me, you're not, whatever. There are pros and cons to pre-inspections on listings. However, I feel the pros way outweigh the cons. So let's take it back to when you started out as an agent, and I get it. You're starting out, things are expensive, you haven't made a lot of money yet, so you have to weigh the pros and cons of every single decision you make. And some of us, when we weigh those pros, we actually sabotage ourselves because we're like, hey, I should pay for it, but I don't have the money to, or I don't really want to. I'm imploring you right now to do a pre-inspection on every single one of your listings. Not only is it a service to your seller and to the buyer, it's gonna be a service to you. Here are the reasons that pre-inspections help us sell more houses. One, it differentiates us from the competition. I come out of pre-inspection with the seller saying, hey, I don't know how to sell your house and price it accurately if I don't know how many miles are on the car. Meaning, I don't crawl in the crawl space, you probably don't either. You don't know every little detail that is going on with your house, or maybe you think it's normal. I don't either. So let's bring in a professional to really do a once-over on the house and tell us what a buyer might see when they do their home inspection. And by doing this, at least in most of the markets that we work in, our seller has the opportunity to go ahead and make all these repairs before we even go live. Here's the part that's self-serving. I now know I have a house that I can sell. How many of y'all have taken on listings, there has been major repairs, the seller may not have the money, and ultimately they may have stayed in the house and decided not to sell. And that was after 3, 4 weeks, months, who knows, of you babysitting this product that you actually can't sell. Furthermore, when you're doing a pre-inspection on a house, what it does for the other side is really, really important. It gives them peace of mind. We all know that buyers are skeptical. They should be. And depending on your market, it might be a buyer beware market. It might be a seller disclosure market. It doesn't really matter. They always think the seller is trying to get one up on them. So they're going to come into the house and they're going to be overcritical. So let's use this for an example. You've got a 1940s bungalow, brick, cute. It looks like Pottery Barn in real person. But they're gonna come look at it, and dad, who's 4 states away, was like, oh honey, it's 1940s, it probably has asbestos and knob and tube wiring, and who knows what else he's coming up with. And then they walk in the front door, and there's a full home inspection laid out. It goes, actually, the electrical has been updated. Actually, there's no asbestos, or whatever it might be. It instantly overcomes those objections. And when you overcome those big objections, people are willing to pay more for the house. And before you wanna argue that, they're in the house because they thought the product, the pictures, and the price were okay. They made the effort to come inside. So let's not run them off with the what coulda-be's. Let's go through the home inspection and show them and literally disclose it. If we do that, they quit looking for stains, cracks, and problems, and they start placing furniture in little Johnny's room and drinking their coffee with the sunlight here. They start emotionally buying into the house, and that's what I'm trying to get buyers to do. So if we keep going through it, how does it help the other agent as well? Well, we all know if we work with a buyer and they go under contract and they back out because they had too many repairs or whatnot, well, guess what? They've got to start over and they've got to write another offer and they're only going to get paid the same amount. So now they're working twice as hard. So it has helped us in our markets prove to other agents, one, that we're playing nice in the sandbox, but two, if they bring a buyer to our property, there's less likelihood they're going to back out. And by that is very helpful. Now, I'm not saying other agents do anything unethical by steering people to our properties, but they just know if they come to our properties, it's going to be pre-inspected, priced appropriately, and that we're going to be pretty easy to work with. And we know that's a big part of the selling process. Going back to the seller real quick, when the seller gets a pre-inspection, let's say there is a big item. Let's say there's a structural issue that they didn't know about. Totally understandable. So the home inspector typically points it out and is like, hey, you should have somebody evaluate it. Well, what if this was the buyer during their due diligence and they just found out about it and the seller had no clue? They're gonna call out all the major structural companies, most likely, and they're gonna get an exorbitant bill. And if you're like us, we always get conflicting reports. One says there's no problem, one said there's 70,000, and you're trying to figure out the difference, all while your seller has 2 weeks to closing and they're trying to move. The stress level's through the roof, and you're the one that's gonna take the brunt of it because, well, let's just be honest, shit rolls downhill and you're down there. So If we found out about this before we listed, in my opinion, we call it a structural engineer who has no dog in this fight. They are not allowed to make repairs on the property. They come out, they evaluate it, and it's a little expensive. In our market, it can cost somewhere between $1,000 to $2,000, and they look at the issues and they give their actual professional opinion and stamp it with their PE pen. When they do that, that is now the gospel of that problem. So many times I've had structural engineers come out and say, actually, that's not a big deal. That's natural. So we just took this huge issue that we know we were going to get hit with a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 invoice from a structural company, because let's be honest, they're paid to make repairs to the structure. And now I have a professional that trumps them that says there's no issue. That saves me a lot of time. I can sell the house. The seller feels good. And I provide this letter with the home inspection report to any buyer so they can say, oh, there was a crack. Oh, they've overcome it. There's no discussion anymore. I think this is one of the best things you can do. But let's say it's the opposite. Let's say the structural engineer comes down and says, there's $20,000 in damage. Fantastic. So what do? Well, we don't list it, or we adjust it on price. We go, hey, this should be worth $300,000. Hey, buyers, my seller is willing to make these repairs prior to closing, at their cost. Or, hey, they don't want to touch it. We're going to price it at $250,000 so you have room to come in, make these repairs, and still get a good price on the house. It gives us options, and that's what we need with working with a seller, and that's why we do the pre-inspection. And lastly, when it comes to pre-inspections on the pro side, I like to say this to clients verbatim. The other reason I like to do pre-inspections is because I'm a professional. I'm out here on my own time, at my own cost, at 5 o'clock on a Friday to hopefully talk with you about selling your house and getting the listing. But I also want to make sure I can sell it. I don't want to take on a listing that I can't sell, and you don't want to list a house that you can't sell. So I'm willing to invest my own money, and I pay for it, by the way, into your house to get this pre-inspection done. That way, you know that I'm invested in your house and I know I can actually sell your house. Now, you take that and you can bake that price into your listing commission, right? If you're providing more, you should charge more. If you're not providing more, you shouldn't charge more. But this right here does the 5 quick things. 1, it lets the seller know any and everything wrong with their house so they can fix it if they want to. 2, it lets other agents know that the house is pre-inspected and ready to go, kind of like a Carfax, but for a house. 3, the buyer feels comfortable. Not only the seller disclose, if that's the requirements in your state, but now the seller's hired a third-party independent contractor to tell them what's wrong with the house. So now they feel comfortable, they know what they're getting themselves into, eyes wide open, less likely to back out, more likely to offer to asking price. And lastly, it makes you the professional, so you're not getting those Thursday night phone calls at 7 o'clock from a pissed off seller that just got an inspection report from a buyer and they're supposed to close in 2 weeks. So it's all around a good thing. Now, there are a couple cons to this I've learned over the last 10 years of doing this. 1, you've got to disclose it, at least in most of the states that we work in. So if you know of something, you've got to disclose it. So we've probably had, I'm going to guess, 5 sellers that did not want us to do a pre-inspection. That's a huge red flag to me. They're like, hey, let's just see what they come back and ask for. Not a bad idea, and you may still be willing to go forward, but when you get to a certain level of business, like why? Why would you not want to know as an agent? Even if you have to eat the cost, why would you not want to save that time, effort, and energy and know that you can actually sell it and move forward? Maybe the seller knows something's going on and hopefully they don't get caught. I'm not saying they're lying, but it just throws up red flags. And when you get used to doing it for 10 years and other agents expect it, when you don't have it, it gets weird. Another thing is they got to disclose it. So sometimes sellers go, I don't want to show them all the items on the home inspection list. I'll just disclose it in our property disclosure. That's fine as well. I think it's more powerful on the actual form that the pre-inspection came in, but in our state, as long as we disclose the items, it doesn't say how we have to disclose them. One of the other cons is a lot of buyers come into thinking that we made all these repairs already. So it's kind of a gray area. If I disclosed all these issues to a buyer and they put a contract on my house, do I still have to make those repairs because I already told them about it? And what we have found is, yeah, you do. They don't just take your word for it. The other con is, we thought when we started doing this, most buyers would just use our pre-inspection and move on. But they didn't. They get their own inspection probably most of the time. And when they do that, that inspector comes in, I feel like with a chip on their shoulder, and they are looking for more stuff to prove their value. So I don't particularly like that. So that is one of the cons that can come up, is they can find a couple more items, but they shouldn't be big items. So that wraps up our cons. And since you've watched all the way through the video, I'm going to give you one more bonus feature of why you should do pre-inspections. When you do a pre-inspection, you should contract with the contractor to send them the pre-inspection and quote everything. So now your client knows what's wrong with the house. They have a price that goes with everything that's wrong with the house. So when it comes to negotiations on price, they know what they may have to spend in repairs to get the price they want. Or if they don't negotiate in the contract and they wait for the buyer to submit a repair request, they already know what everything's going to cost, so they can negotiate smartly. So this also puts you in the right position, because at the end of the day, I believe in the old Chinese proverb that the battle's not won on the battlefield, it's by who chooses it. And by doing a pre-inspection, you choose the battlefield, you have the most knowledge, your client can make clear decisions, and you get to sell the house.